Guys, just came back from a hike and sitting down to do a little bit of reading. We are on chapter 2 of Nancy Drew and the Clue Crew. Okay, we have X's and O's. Nancy gasped. So did George and Bess. Who could be saying such mean things about baby chicks? Then Nancy spotted Catherine Spangler standing near the back of the crowd. Catherine had her hands on her hips. Her cheeks were flushed a bright, angry red. Mrs. Ramirez saw Catherine, too. "Excuse me, Catherine, but that's not how we talk in this class," she said sternly. "But that's not fair," said Catherine, pouting. "What's not fair?" Mrs. Ramirez asked her. "It's not fair that everyone's making such a big fat deal about the chick's birthday when really it's someone else's birthday and no one seems to remember that," Catherine complained. Mrs. Ramirez's eyes widened. "Oh, that's right. It's your birthday today, Catherine, isn't it?" Catherine didn't say anything. "Well, I'm very glad you reminded us," Mrs. Ramirez told Catherine. "Next time it would be best if you let us know directly and without using words like dumb and stupid." She turned to the class. "Class, we've all been so focused on the chick's birthday, but it's Catherine's birthday too. Why don't we gather around and sing happy... Hey, there's a beak!" Gabby shouted. "First chick is coming out of its shell." "Cool," someone said. Let me see," said someone else. A bunch of kids swarmed eagerly around the incubator. "Nobody touch anything," Mrs. Ramirez called out. Everyone seemed to have forgotten about singing happy birthday. "Hey, let's sing," said Nancy, but her voice was so drowned out by the excited chatter. Nancy gave up and peered into the incubator along with everybody else. Gabby was right. A tiny beak had emerged from one of the eggs. Here you have a little picture here. A few minutes later, more pieces of the shell broke away, and a tiny yellow head popped out. And then finally, the whole shell broke away, and the chick himself popped out, peeping and chirping. Nancy knew that it was a he because he was yellow. Mrs. Ramirez had explained that with this particular kind of chicken, all the boys would be yellow and all the girls would be brown. "It's Chirping Charlie," Tommy announced. "He's so cute," George said to Nancy and Bess. "He's the exact same color as my dress," said Bess, twirling. "We match." Nancy was about to say something when she noticed Catherine standing by herself, away from the crowd. She looked upset. In all the excitement over the chick, the class had forgotten about Catherine's birthday again. "George, Bess, and I should make Catherine a super cool birthday card during recess," Nancy told herself. And so by the end of the day, all 12 chicks were born, Nancy announced to her father and Hannah Gruen at dinner time. 5 boys and 7 girls. It was really awesome. It was make your own taco night at the Drew house. Nancy loved make your own taco night. As always, Hannah had laid out platters of warm corn taco shells as well as lots of ingredients to put inside of them. Hannah had been the Drews' housekeeper for the past 5 years, ever since Nancy's mother died. She was way more than a housekeeper, though. She was almost like a mother to Nancy. Mr. Drew smiled at his daughter. "That's wonderful, honey," he said. "When I was in elementary school, we did a chick project, too." "Did your class name the chicks yet?" Hannah asked Nancy. Nancy reached for a taco shell and put it in her plate. She was going to construct the fattest, yummiest taco ever. "Well, sort of," she replied. "There's this boy named Tommy who's kind of obsessed with the chicks. He named them before they were even born. The names are Pippi Pipsqueak, Flufferina, Tiny Belle, Cocoa Puff, Miss Minnie, Fiffy Feathers, Goldie Greg, Chirping Charlie, Loud Louis, Shy Sherman, Hopping Herman, and Fred. And since there are 5 boys and 7 girls, one of the girls ended up being named Fred." She giggled. Tommy made a Welcome Chicks poster, and he wrote a bunch of poems and songs for the chicks, too. Hannah pointed to Nancy's hands. "Speaking of drawing, you look like you've been doing a little drawing yourself," she said with a knowing grin. Nancy's hands were covered with red, yellow, and purple marker stains. Nancy blushed. "I washed my hands before dinner, Hannah, honest. It's just that George, Bess, and I had to make a birthday card for this girl named Catherine during recess, and the markers were super messy." "Who's Catherine?" Mr. Drew asked. "I don't think I've met her." Nancy explained who Catherine was. She also told her father and Hannah how upset Catherine had been about her birthday. So we made her this card and gave it to her after recess, she finished. I think it cheered her up. That was nice of you girls, Hannah remarked. Absolutely, Mr. Drew agreed. Mr. Drew then told a story about the chick project and his classmates had done in third grade. While he talked, Nancy piled ingredients into her taco shell. First, shredded cheese, then beans, then chopped up lettuce and tomatoes, then sour cream, then guacamole, then salsa, which Hannah made herself with a little pineapple bits in it to make it sweet as well as spicy. Nancy noticed that Hannah had put out chicken pieces too. She started to reach for it, then stopped. Today of all days, she wasn't in the mood to eat chicken. The next morning, Nancy walked into class a few minutes early so she could check out the chicks. The other students were already there, including George and Bess. Mrs. Ramirez had moved the chicks into something called a brooding pen. It was a very big cardboard box with a warming lamp attached to it. The bottom of the pen was lined with straw and sawdust. A sign on the side. Hi, this is our neighborhood cat. His name is Picklebutt. It was a very big cardboard box with a warming lamp attached to it. The bottom of the pen was lined with straw and sawdust. A sign on the side said, "Do not touch the chicks." "How are the chicks?" Nancy called out to her friends as she walked over to the pen. "They're even cuter than they were yesterday," George replied. Bess pointed out her outfit. "And see, today I'm wearing brown in honor of the girl chicks." Nancy smiled and peered inside the pen. George was right. The chicks were even cuter than they were on Wednesday. 6 of them were nestled in a big fluffy ball, napping. Another 3 were pecking at some of their special chick food, which Mrs. Ramirez had bought at the pet store. And the last 3 were drinking water out of their little bowl. There was a lot of peeping and chirping. Just then, Nancy noticed that something was wrong. On the wall next to the incubator was Tommy's Welcome Chicks poster. Someone had marked big X's and O's across the poster. It was ruined. Uh-oh, who could it have been? Was it Tommy? Was it Catherine? We'll find out maybe tomorrow. Chapter 3. See ya.